Welcome to the Two Wealth Show, a show that shares how you can create real wealth for you and your family. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Bogard, and my co-host is Elizabeth Sickles, aka Super E. I am a real estate note investor, specializing in performing residential real estate debt. I find the deals, acquire them for my own portfolio, as well as educate investors while walking them through the process of owning a real estate note. My co-host Super E, a real estate investor, specializing in short-term rentals and the management of them. She connects investors with short-term tenants and manages everything in between. Our show is sponsored by BrightPath Notes and Elizabeth Maora. You can find out more information by visiting our websites at brightpathnotes.com and elizabethmaora.com.
So hello everybody, I am Elizabeth with Elizabeth Maora, and we have a very special vacation rental guest today with us, Andy Moore from, Andy, you want to tell us where you're from?
I operate out of Sarasota, on the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Oh, man, that sounds like a vacation right there. So that would be on the west side of Florida.
Yeah, it's on the west side, just south of Tampa and north of Naples is where we operate out of. Home to the best beaches in the U.S. as voted for year on year.
Okay, awesome. Well, sounds like I'm on the wrong side of Florida then. I'm usually on the other side.
Yeah.
I got to get over to the better side then, huh? Well, Andy, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for being on our podcast today. And I'm Justin Bogard, and my company's BrightPath Notes. And what I do, just Andy, so you know a little bit about me, is I'm a note investor. I'm not sure if you ever created loans before or bought or sold loans before, but that's the business that I'm in. I started out in real estate, just like most people, fixing, flipping, and doing wholesaling deals. I've never done vacation rentals or short-term rentals. I've definitely stayed in them. I learned a lot about Elizabeth, and I look forward to learning a little bit more from what your perspective is.
Sure. Good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Elizabeth, what we got in store for today?
All right, so Andy is a very savvy businessman. We met at an executive conference in California last June, and then he let me come down and spend a couple of days in his operation in Florida. So I learned a ton, completely changed my business. So we just wanted to get Andy on the show. He has a very interesting opinion and outtake, as well as what's going on right now and how he's positioning his business to really capitalize on the opportunities coming forward. So Andy, do you want to tell us how you got into vacation rentals in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. Like a lot of people, I owned a vacation rental. I'm from the UK originally, and I came on vacation, stayed in the Disney World area in a vacation rental. And eventually, after coming back for a few years, spent some time in the Bradenton, Sarasota area on the Gulf Coast. Decided to buy a property and had a vacation rental that I was doing VRBO, home away type, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a management company that addressed my needs. So after throwing an idea around in my head for a while, I decided to up sticks and emigrate from the UK to the US and start my own property management company with the one property that I had, with the idea of getting into managing for other people. And that was in 2003, so going on 17 years ago. And now we manage about 1,000 rentals for people in this area.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big portfolio there.
And
it keeps us busy.
I bet.
And what's even more fascinating, can you tell us the breakdown of traditional, so people that rent annually versus vacation rentals? And then also what's really fascinating is how many full-time staff you have for 1,000 properties.
Okay, yeah. Well, we out of 1,000, it's 2/3 1/3 vacation rental, 2/3 annual rentals. We started with the vacation rental business because it was a lower barrier to entry. I was essentially cutting grass and cleaning pools. I was the general dog's body for owners who were VRBOing. As the company matured, we got into actually renting ourselves. And then 2009 hit, and we saw an opportunity in the annual rental space. And we started an annual rental program, and that ramped up really quickly, largely to the economic climate at the time. And that we focused on that heavily for about 5 years. And then in 2019, so last year, we acquired quite a big company with 380 units. We purchased that book, which took us up to the 1,000 units. The advantage of working with an annual rental portfolio is that it gives you ability to forecast, gives you ability to budget. It levels off the income. Whereas if you were relying solely on the vacation rental in times that we're living in at the moment with the coronavirus pandemic, then we would be in dire straits for sure. But the annual rental gives us that stability. We've got a total of, including some maintenance staff, we've got a total of about 25 bodies here. 25 employees, 20 of which are US based, and then we have 5 remote workers out of Mexico.
Okay. And so what's the distance wise? How big of an area is all your rentals that you have, the VRBOs and the annual rentals? We probably cover the very tip of Manatee County, the very southern tip of Sarasota County. I would gauge that at about 80 miles. Oh, wow.
And we have 4 offices to service those properties.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Annie, do you have a website that people could go to if they want to check out some of your VRBOs? And
yeah, we do. I mean, that's a case in point. I think I would, if anyone is managing vacation rentals or managing annual rentals, I would start looking at your websites. We actually have 2 websites.
Okay.
We have a website which is our owner-facing website. It's where we acquire the owners. It's where our outreach goes, and that's choosegulfcoast.com.
Okay.
And then we have a vacation rental specific website, and that's outreach to vacation rental guests, and that's gcvacationrentals.com. And what I find is that by having a foot in both camps in annual rentals and vacation rentals, we can take the best practices from each and apply them to our organization. Whereas I do see in the annual rental world and also in the vacation rental worlds, when they're so encamped in their own world, they don't take the best practices. And as an example, I don't think vacation rental management companies, I don't think their sales outreach to the asset owners is as strong as it is in the annual rental world. And by comparison, I don't think in the annual rental world, the outreach to potential tenants is as strong as it is for guests in the vacation rental world. And we're by no means perfect, but I do think that by having a foot in both camps, it gives us a good perspective and a more broad overview of where the market is.
Yeah, that was a good point you brought up at the beginning about how your portfolio is divided up, disproportionately for the VRBOs versus the annual rentals. So it makes sense why you obviously see it now. What's being hit hardest, obviously, is the VRBOs versus the annuals. So Elizabeth and I were talking about that last episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone who's got some interest in the vacation rental world is hurting right now. Yeah. We had $600,000 worth of cancellations in a week.
Wow.
At the beginning of March, which was devastating, really. Because I'm not saying you spend that money. I'm not saying you've but it's certainly been recorded. It's certainly been acknowledged on the balance sheet. And then to give all that money back and start again, it's kick and teeth. But we're in a way more fortunate situation than we see what some of our peers are.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, Elizabeth.
Why is that? Why do you say that you guys are in a better position?
I think it's better to be lucky than good, right, Elizabeth? That's you hear that quite a lot. And our season and our peak, we on our vacation rental business, we do 60% of our annual revenue in the first quarter. So we'd already through March, we'd already taken those rentals. We have a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people, northern visitors, people from Canada, people from Ohio, New York, all come to this area during Q1. So we've already realised that revenue. There's people in the Outer Banks. There's people in up in Indy. There's who are really hurting right now because they're just coming into their peak period. They're just coming into where they are realising their peak revenue earning period, and they've had to cancel, and they're not going to be in operations anymore. And who knows how long this is going to last. So we have that advantage, and then also by having the buffer of the annual rentals, which steadies out our income throughout the year. At least we can keep the doors open. I haven't had to lay off any staff. We've been, we're keeping our head above water.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's something that makes you feel a little bit better that you can keep things moving and at least not go backwards too far, so to speak. So, but you've survived the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, and obviously you're definitely going to survive this because you're set up well for it. So Elizabeth had mentioned that you're very process oriented, and so I'm interested to hear, because I know Elizabeth's got like an engineering mind, so it sounds like you might be similar, but I'm interested in hearing your processes, or at least if you can kind of frame it for us, for your business model.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as an engineering mind. I have ideas. It's implementation that kind of lets me down. I'm more of a big picture. But what I have realised is, I didn't have a business degree. I fell into owning a business, but for me there was no guidance. There's no textbook that was going to teach me how to do this. Property management in itself, no one really goes to school for property management. So it was all self-taught. And one of the books I read a few years ago was the book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And that's basically a common sense approach to how to manage a growing company. And that relies very heavily on accountability, processes, and people. And I really took that to heart and introduced that as we were growing. We hit the ceiling where we were losing properties as quickly as we were bringing them on. We were losing staff as quickly as we were hiring. It was unorganized chaos. It really was. And something had to change. I was putting so much money into bringing property owners on, but then losing them because of the delivery of the service. Growth is great, and cash hides a lot of problems. But when you actually start digging into what is going on, it became clear that something had to change. So we really followed that model and introduced a lot of processes and systems based on Gino's book. We separated our company into departments, which is unusual in the annual rental world. Annual rental world is very portfolio driven, but we booked against that and fought hard for departmental responsibilities and total accountability within a defined subsection of tasks, so that we can look at each other around the table and hold each other accountable. And we record what we call KPIs, our scorecards, and rolled out over about 2 years, rolled out the whole Traction platform. It was received very well, and it is applicable to property management because there's no real textbook or playbook for property management. And then as a result of that, I took on some coaching courses and then became an EOS or Traction implementer, and I've helped a number of companies around the country develop their own playbook using Traction. And I think it's a great tool that property managers can use to take them to the next level.
That's awesome. So you mentioned something about having making your business into different departments. And so there's one thing that Elizabeth and I had talked about on a previous episode with another hosting person like yourself is, do you have a linen manager?
We do not. One of the things we just hired someone who actually came from Bacasa.
Oh, really?
And which is an opportunity right now in this time of in these times. This is a great opportunity for companies like ours to pick up talent, and that we have hired some talented people as a result. And one of their questions was linen and who's responsible for linen, and it was so left field for us because our cleaners do the laundry. They're in the properties. As they're cleaning the properties, they're using the facilities in the property. We manage single family and condos, so they've all got laundry rooms. But she was surprised by that because she had someone in charge of linen for their company.
Yeah, I don't know who we were talking to about that, but that was pretty funny. We both were just like, "Huh, that's interesting." Because I know Elizabeth, she charges for people to have lamps and stuff and lights. She charges extra. I'm just kidding. She doesn't do that. We just had a little fun with that.
So, and Andy, because you are so process driven, and obviously very studious with your financials, can you talk about where you see the vacation rental industry going and what you guys specifically are doing right now? Where are the opportunities going to be, and where are they?
Okay. I mean, from a macro level, I think we're at a pivotal point in the vacation rental industry. It's a very immature industry that has gotten a lot of press and focus over the last 5 years. Most of it good, I would say. It's certainly shone a light on an industry that didn't get much light previously. But if we really want to be a travel sector and be a true short-term accommodation alternative to hotels, we have to step up and be at their level. And when you had Airbnb, HomeAway, big companies nationwide vacation rental companies not giving refunds and essentially just washing the hands of the situation and saying property owners are on their own, property owners are on their own, guests, we're not figuring it out. But maybe if you talk to the property manager or the host, they'll help you out. There was so much dysfunction going around, or has been, or still is, so much dysfunction and going around that if I wasn't entrenched in this industry and I was a consumer and I was traveling with my family, looking at how we've acted as an industry over the last few weeks, it would give me pause and think, is my hard-earned money better off placed with a hotel chain? Because at least then I feel like they've got my back. And I think that we have to address the elephant in the room and say, what are we? If we're going to be a mom and pop organization that just is there to earn a couple of bucks whilst we own a second home, then let's own it and let's be that. But if we want to be a true alternative, then we've got to raise the bar and raise our standards as an industry. And I don't think we've done that.
Awesome. Elizabeth, great questions that you threw out there today. We're kind of running tight on time here, Andy. We appreciate you being on and stuff. So this is kind of the opportunity where we have people just kind of have some closing thoughts. I know you ended this pretty well with what you see the outlook is for the VRBO business, or I like to call it short-term business. So do you have any closing remarks or thoughts that you'd like to give or share about maybe just being a business for yourself or just running a property management company like you have?
Sure. 2008, 2009, that was the making of our company. We turned it into an opportunity. And I think that 2020 is another opportunity. I think there's people who don't want to be in this industry because it's a pretty hard industry, are going to use this as an excuse to exit. And I think that the companies that are focused on growth, that are well managed, that are fiscally sound, they can double down now and take advantage of a market that's been rocked. That's what we're doing, piggybacking off one of Elizabeth's questions from earlier. We're doubling down on our marketing. We see this opportunity. Property owners want leadership. Property owners, forever we're trying to justify what we do as an industry. Do we just collect rent? Do we just clean houses? Do we just send the maintenance? Homeowners think they can do this for themselves. We're the professionals. We need to stand up and show our owners what we can do for them. We know about legislation. We know how to respond to guests. We know that when we can go into properties and when we can't go into properties. Things that property owners just are scared of right now. They're crying out for leadership. And I think this is a pivotal moment for the property management industry and the property management companies who are forward thinking to put their hand up, show leadership and grow their own businesses. So that's what we're doing here, because we do think this is whilst it's devastating on one hand, we do also see it as a great opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all that, Andy. And thanks for being our guest on today's episode number 8. So we're going to have to sign off here. So I'm Justin Bogard with BrightPath Notes.
I'm Elizabeth with Elizabeth Maora.
And go ahead, Andy, plug yourself in, my friend.
And I'm Andy Moore with Gulf Coast Property Management.
All right, guys, check out our show notes to get Andy's websites and the book he mentioned. Until next time, guys. See ya.
Thank you.
See you guys. Take it easy.
The Two Wealth Show is produced by Justin Bogard and Super E, sponsored by BrightPath Notes and Elizabeth Maora. Thanks for listening and watching for our show.